Hello all and welcome back to this new lecture on SQL for Data Science tutorial for absolute beginners. In today's lecture we are going to discuss about with clause, and by the end of this lecture you will get to know that what is with clause, why do we use it, and what is the correct way or syntax of using with clause on PostgreSQL. So let's work through few examples on our PG admin tool. Okay, so I'm again using this payment table in this lecture, and let's go ahead and try to calculate the average amount value for this table. So we can use this syntax in order to calculate the average amount. I'm using this average function and passing in the amount column. If I will select and hit execute, we will get to see the average amount, but this is too many places after the decimal, so let's try to round it up. So I will just wrap up everything within the parenthesis and I will pass it to the round function that we have already discussed earlier. So if I'll execute this now, it will give me a round figure of 4. And let's say I want to select all the record from the payment table where the value for the amount column should be greater than the average amount value. In that case, you are already aware that we can either pass in this value 4 over here, but that would not be a good idea because this number might change over the time as new records gets added to the table. So this idea will not work in a live work environment. So the second idea could be that we can use a subquery and we can pass in this SQL statement inside it, and then if we try to execute it, it will give us the desired output. All the records having the value for the amount column greater than the average value. However, the same thing can be also done with the help of with clause, and let's go ahead and see how. And this will be the correct syntax to use with clause in order to fetch the same output. And you might be wondering that this time the SQL statement is not starting with a select, instead it is starting with the with clause, and you will understand this as I give you a proper breakdown for this entire SQL query. So I am saying with average amount, and you can consider this kind of a virtual table, but remember it is not going to be a real table that SQL is going to create on your machine. So it is going to work only as a virtual table, and inside that I am creating an average amount column as the value I am getting by executing this SQL query, that is doing nothing but calculating the average value from the amount column, and then it is rounding it up. So the value being calculated by this SQL query will be stored within this average amount column within this average amount virtual table. And then I am saying select everything from the payment table and also select the average amount table that we have created with the help of with clause as AM. I'm creating an alias for this average amount where the amount column from the payment table should be greater than the average amount column right here from this AM alias, which is for this virtual table. And if we execute this, again we will get to see all the records where the value in the amount column is greater than the average value for the amount column, and we can see the average amount right here. Now in SQL there are a lot of other methods as well in order to get the same kind of output, and with clause is one of them. And most probably you might be thinking that there are easier ways as well to do the same task. Maybe we can do it by using the subqueries, and I agree with that. However, let's say in a working environment you have created a really long and complex SQL query, and in that case you will get to see this advantage of a with clause. The main reason that SQL analyst uses with clause is just to simplify very complex SQL queries. But within this example, the task that we are performing, it is not that complex, and this is why it makes more sense to use other methods like subquery instead of a with clause. However, with clause is going to be a good to know thing that will help you to work efficiently in your day-to-day work. I hope you found this video helpful in order to understand with clause. If you still have any confusions around it, I would suggest that you watch this lecture a couple of more times and pay attention to especially that area where I'm trying to give you a breakdown for the with clause SQL query, and I'm pretty sure that the idea will be absolutely clear to you. So this is all for today's lecture. Please consider dropping a like below and subscribing to the channel if you have not yet subscribed, and I will see you in the next lecture.